Dorothy is 34 years old, standing at the front desk of a suburban realty office on a Tuesday morning in 1963. Her white cotton gloves are folded in her handbag. A listing book sits on the broker's desk. Her compact is in her coat pocket. She knows every property on this street. She has sold 6 of them. Everything about her looks like readiness, and it is. But number 1 will show you what that readiness was actually built on. Number 12, the suit that wasn't a choice. Dorothy laid out her skirt suit the night before. Tailored jacket, pressed hem, closed-toe heels, nylons. Not because she wanted to, because the alternative was not available to her. Before the early 1970s, pants were considered unprofessional for women in office and client-facing roles. Some universities didn't permit their own female employees to wear pantsuits to work until 1971. Real estate was no different. A male agent could arrive in slacks. Dorothy could not. Her suit was not fashion. It was credentials. The rustle of nylon as she walked to a client's car was the sound of a professional requirement being met. Number 11. The gloves that meant respectability. The white cotton gloves in Dorothy's handbag were not warmth. They were proof. Into the early 1960s, gloves remained a visible marker of respectability for women in professional settings. Amy Vanderbilt's Complete Book of Etiquette treated them as part of correct public presentation. Dingy gloves, or no gloves at all, could quietly undermine an otherwise polished appearance. Arriving without them sent a signal she could not take back. It said she had not bothered. And a woman who had not bothered was not a professional representative. She was a housewife dabbling. The soft snap of the button at her wrist before a showing was not vanity. It was the cost of being taken seriously. Number 10. The lipstick that wasn't about beauty. After lunch, Dorothy opened her compact in the car. The lipstick went on before the afternoon showing, not for herself, for the signal. A refreshed appearance communicated alertness and reliability. A shade like Revlon's Cherries in the Snow, worn by working women throughout the decade, was not decoration. It was maintenance. The same way a man straightened his tie, except a man could skip it and no one would note it as a character flaw. An unrefreshed appearance could register as tiredness. The soft click of the compact closing, that was professional labor performed twice a day. Number 9. The title on the business card. Dorothy's business card read, Mrs. Dorothy H. That title was not courtesy. It was a disclosure. Mid-century etiquette required women to identify as Miss or Mrs. Men used no equivalent. Dorothy's card announced her marital status before she said a word. Some clients would ask whether her husband approved of her working. The title was not grammar, it was information. The slight pause when a client addressed her by her first name while calling her broker Mr. said everything. Number 8. The voice that had to stay pleasant. Dorothy knew the property better than the client did. She had previewed it twice. She knew the foundation issue, the comparable sales, the school district line, and why the kitchen renovation mattered to resale. The client talked over her. She adjusted. She rephrased the point as a question. Made it sound like his idea. Got the sale. The pleasantness was not warmth. It was professional labor. Etiquette culture of the 1960s placed a real burden on women in client-facing roles to remain agreeable and soft-voiced, especially when contradicting male clients directly. An agent who pushed back too firmly risked being described as difficult, aggressive, or not the right fit for the firm. The knowledge belonged to Dorothy. The tone did not. That gap between what she knew and how she was permitted to say it was a rule no one ever printed on a form. Number 7. The listing that wasn't hers. Dorothy found the seller. She built the relationship. She arranged the showing and wrote up the notes. The printed listing had the broker's name at the top, his. Because in the 1960s, many women in real estate operated as sales agents, not licensed brokers. And under NAR's structure at the time, full realtor membership required being a broker, a status that many local boards had made harder for women to reach. Listings belonged to the brokerage, which meant the attribution, the track record, the professional reputation it accumulated in someone else's file. The rustle of a listing book page being turned by another hand was the sound of work being done and credit being held somewhere else. Building a reputation meant trusting a broker to extend it, and not all of them did. Number 6. The book she couldn't always open. The multiple listing service in the 1960s was a physical book, updated once or twice a month, kept at the broker's office. Access required membership in a local real estate board. And as late as the 1960s, many local boards explicitly excluded women along with Black and Jewish brokers from full membership, which meant the book on the broker's desk was not simply information, it was permission. Dorothy could not independently see what was on the market. On the days the broker was out, she waited. Every property she showed came through a gatekeeper. She could not self-direct her own work. The thud of that book landing on the desk, the pages flipping under someone else's hands, that was the shape of a career built on access that was not equally hers to claim. Until now, the rules lived in Dorothy's compact, her gloves, her title card, and the listing book on the broker's desk. The next rules moved into offices that kept files, and files have consequences. Number 5. The assumption she was part-time. Dorothy's sales numbers were real. Her professional category was not. Women entering real estate in the 1960s were frequently treated as earning pin money, supplemental household income, not a career. That assumption, documented in industry oral histories and labor research of the period, shaped everything below it. Which leads got routed to which agents? Which properties were considered worth a woman's time? Which clients with larger budgets went to the male agent in the next chair? Dorothy's commission ledger did not lie. Her broker's routing choices did the talking instead. The scratch of a pen assigning the corporate relocation client, the one buying in the better neighborhood to someone else, was not a written rule. It was a conclusion drawn before the morning coffee cooled. Number 4. The wedding ring risk. When Dorothy married, her broker noted it. Not on paper. In the listings he stopped sending her. Marriage bars, formal and informal policies that ended or restricted women's professional roles upon marriage, were documented across clerical work, teaching, and professional fields through the 1950s and into the 1960s. Claudia Golden's research on American labor history traces their reach across industries. In real estate, the version was often unwritten. A newly married agent was presumed to be less committed, closer to departure, possibly planning a pregnancy. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 addressed wages. It did not address what a broker decided about a woman's future after he saw a ring on her left hand. The small click of that ring against her compact case was a personal sound. Inside the office, it carried professional information. Number 3. The meeting she wasn't invited to. A notice on the office bulletin board. Real estate board meeting. Thursday evening. Dorothy's name was not on the list. Many local boards had dropped formal gender restrictions by the early 1960s, but the informal structure had not shifted with the paperwork. The dinners where new developments were discussed, the lunches where builders introduced themselves. The committees that controlled MLS access, listing rules, and referral networks. The Women's Council of Realtors was founded in 1938 precisely because women were being excluded from the main associations. As late as 1949, a NAR member survey found 98% of formal members were men. Women did not become the majority until 1978. The yellow thumbtack pressing the meeting notice into the corkboard was a small sound. The professional network it represented was not a small thing. Number 2. The commission she couldn't bank alone. Dorothy closed a sale. A family bought a home. The commission check arrived in an envelope with her name on it. She had earned it. At the bank window, under the fluorescent light, the question arrived anyway. Was her husband present? Did she need a co-signer? Before the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974, banks could legally require a male co-signer for a woman's loan, credit application, or account in many states. A married woman could not always apply for a mortgage independently, the same product her clients were buying without her husband's signature. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 said she could earn equally. It did not require the bank to recognize her earnings as sufficient. The work was hers. The full access to what the work could build was still waiting on a signature that was not hers to give alone. Number 1. The house she couldn't own. Dorothy pressed a for sale sign into the front yard herself. She had done it dozens of times. She knew this street. She knew the lot lines, the square footage, the age of the roof, the school rating, the comparable sales. She had sold 6 homes on this block. And in 1963, if she had walked to the bank and applied for a mortgage to buy the 7th one in her own name, the bank did not have to say yes. Banks could legally refuse to count a married woman's commission income when evaluating her creditworthiness on the assumption she might leave the workforce. Before 1974, a woman's earnings could be treated as provisional present for now, unreliable by design. She could sell the dream. She could earn the commission. She could train the next woman who came through the office door. The deepest rule was never printed in any handbook she could find. It was written in a law that hadn't been passed yet. She could plant the sign in the ground. The ground itself was harder to own. Dorothy puts the white cotton gloves back in her handbag and sets it beside the listing book on the desk. At the start of this, those objects looked ordinary. A fashion accessory. An office tool. 12 rules later, they look like what they were, the visible surface of a system that required performance at every level while holding the deeper access just out of reach. The strongest rules were never written down. That made them harder to name. If someone in your family lived inside rules like these, leave their story below, subscribe, and come with us to the next hidden code.